All right, let's do this. All right, yay! What did that cat want, huh? What you want? Hello, me. I'm going to search for myself. Wait, what's that there? I saw a picture of Catfish. Sure.
At the beginning, she gave me things: perfect balance, perfect sleep.
If you're a fan of NASCAR and you attend the races, you're probably more than well aware of the fact that the chance to meet your favorite driver is pretty much slim to none. A lot of the hot passes, garage access, and just general access to the drivers usually comes to the highest bidder, and the general public never sees much of their favorite driver outside of them coming by on a pickup truck and waving as they drive by the spectator areas. Now, that being said, things are probably going to get even worse than they already are in terms of driver access in NASCAR, because for the second time in less than a calendar year, a fan, a member of the general public, has attempted to physically fight a NASCAR driver. This most recent incident involved Kyle Busch during Saturday's Bristol night race. So the situation all really began on the racetrack when Kyle Busch made contact with Martin Truex Jr. coming off of the corner and onto the straightaway, turning Martin Truex Jr. into the inside wall. Truex would spear outside into another car and to the outside wall, eliminating him from the race. And as you could well imagine, the Truex fans were none too pleased, and there was a lot of rage on social media, probably from drivers or from fans who just simply hate Kyle Busch and wanted to express their Kyle Busch hate once again. Not necessarily Truex fans, but this led to a confrontation that boiled over as Kyle Busch was leaving Bristol Motor Speedway after the race and was actually signing autographs for fans. Now, the statement, or this statement that I'm about to read, comes directly from Bristol Motor Speedway and was originally reported by Jeff Gluck. Our security team has investigated a post-race incident where a guest repeatedly confronted Kyle Busch verbally and physically while he was signing autographs for fans. As Busch then prepared to leave in his golf cart, the individual struck the driver across the chest, and at that time, Busch confronted the individual. The two were separated, and a uniformed officer pulled the individual to the side, allowing Busch to depart. Bristol Motor Speedway appreciates
behind the two marchers, Luis Sala had moved up into third place. The Barcelona Lola driver moving ahead of his own compatriot, but suddenly the track was littered with wreckage. Galmas crashed heavily at 170 mph in the fast swerves after the start-finish line. The rest of the field picked their way through the debris. There were some phenomenal avoidances as the field poured past the unfortunate Frenchman, still strapped into his car's monocoque, which had almost been severed from the engine. Marshals tried desperately to free him, although fortunately he was only badly shaken.
Hello. There we are. There we are. There we are. There we are.
That's Marlo. Hi, buddy. He has a problem with his ear right now. He's a little scratch right there. Yeah. And over here, a big black dog over here. What? Oh, no. It's all right. Don't need to run. Don't need to run. There we are. Start over. No. Oh well. And that's a big dog. There's Otto. Hi, buddy. How are you? He's a precious dog. My niece gave him to her. My brother, I mean. No, my brother's not transgender. And over here on the other side, we have Hannah. Right there. She's deaf. Can't hear a word. That's what deaf means. I'm putting myself on YouTube to figure out how to do it. So, here I go.
There we are. There we are. There we are. that? I'm sorry. Did that wake you up? Oh my gosh. 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 Oh my gosh.
En oerhörd dramatik alltså redan i starten här. Det är Ronnie Petterssons bil som vinner. Har Ronnie kommit ur bilen? Ja, det har han.
Down the back straightaway, we're going to go yellow right away. See if we can figure out who it was involved in that incident. Steele trying to get the number off that. Oh, and we got a problem. 2, 3 cars spinning. Down the back straightaway, we're going to go yellow right away. Line.
out of Greenville, South Carolina, Coleman heavily down.
Sector. Sin embargo, me dice que aún no puede darme una declaración concreta sobre el estado de él, pero sin embargo, realmente yo no lo vi muy bien, realmente.
Está muy pasado y esa es mi apreciación, que en el último salto él creo que calculó lo del viento y le jugó una mala pasada, como ves, ahí mismo.
Sí, y vemos
Este sector, sin embargo, me dice que aún no puede darme una declaración concreta sobre el estado de él.
When it comes to daredevil stunts, motorcycle jumps are always thrilling for the live stadium audience when they're successful, and most always a bone-shattering experience when they go bad. Charlotte Speedway, North Carolina, daredevil Doug Danger decides to try a practice jump for a world record attempt of 249 feet. Danger wipes out on the landing. Slow motion replay shows that he was traveling below the perfect takeoff speed of 105 miles per hour. The flight over the distance, however, was flawless, but because of the slower speed, Danger lands short on the runway, flipping him over the top of his bike. Danger breaks both of his arms, his left leg and his back, but he's considered lucky. March 10, 1996, Mesquite, Nevada. Motorcycle daredevil Butch Laswell will attempt to jump across a freeway overpass. The wind is strong, and Laswell decided to go for it. Laswell is down, seriously injured. His approach perfect, but while in the air, a gust of wind shifts.
With a huge paycheck on the line, you would think that superstar athletes would avoid risking it all by cheating, especially with all the cameras around. But you might be shocked by the brazen and unethical actions taken by some of your favorite sports stars. One totally legal cheat to getting the latest videos is hitting the subscribe button and turning on your notifications. Not very saintly. The New Orleans Saints certainly didn't live up to their name when they engaged in an incredible scandal many people have dubbed Bountygate. Many people believe that professional athletes are overpaid, but apparently their paychecks weren't enough to motivate members of the Saints. Their defensive coordinator, Greg Williams, decided to create an incentive program. He offered players financial bonuses for injuring players of opposing teams. Really? Well, just come right out and say it. The Spanish basketball team was caught pretending to be disabled in order to win the gold medal at the Paralympics. Fernando Martín Vicente was the head of the Spanish Federation for Men. Out and say it. The Spanish basketball team was caught pretending to be disabled in order to win the gold medal at the Paralympics. Fernando Martín Vicente was the head of the Spanish Federation for Mentally Handicapped Sports, and he allowed people without any disabilities to compete. They won 5 medals fraudulently, which they were commanded to return, as 10 out of 12 athletes were found not to be disabled. Putting the bad in badminton. We generally don't think of women's badminton players as those that would willfully cheat, especially in such a blatant way. At the 2012 London Olympics, 8 players from 4 different teams from South Korea, China, and Indonesia seemed to be doing really poorly for some reason. Fans were
That's my cute girl. Hmm?
At Indianapolis, super-powered cars thunder toward the starting line, and they're off in the world's greatest auto racing classic. Averaging as high as 129 miles an hour, the speedsters whiz around and around in a race that's 500 miles long, with a chance of trouble every foot of the way. Flame or fury, the race roars on. In recent years, a new kind of sporting madness has swept the country. Midget auto racing. With stripped-down bodies and souped-up fuel, these lightning Lilliputians flash around a track banked steep for speed.
I'm sorry, but that last one was really cool.
After Italian supersport rider Andrea Antonelli died in a horrific crash during the World Superbike round here in Moscow. Konstantin Potapov reports.
The second ever Moscow stage of the Superbike World Series started brightly but finished tragically. Wet weather contributed to an incident-packed first race where several riders crashed out on the slippery track, including 2011 champion Carlos Checa. Britain's Tom Sykes then suffered his second technical problem of the weekend as his motorcycle stopped and burst into flames during the fourth lap. Then, midway through the race, it began to rain heavily, and the teams used pit stops to change tires. Charles Davis was leading for the most of the way, but his teammate Marco Melandri closed the gap later on to win his second race at the Moscow track.
Actually, it was unbelievable race today. I had a good start, but just was pulling away. He had an unbelievable rhythm on the dry, and he was very consistent. So a second, and for me, was looking good to finish the race like that.
But unfortunately, it was the race in the second-tier Supersport category that was to hit the headlines for the worst of reasons. It started in a torrential downpour, but all eyes turned to Italian Andrea Antonelli, whose father was among the crowd as the 25-year-old lost control of his Kawasaki and was hit by his compatriot Lorenzo Zanetti between turns 14 and 15 of the first lap. The race was stopped with a red flag, and the rider immediately airlifted to hospital, but died from head injuries. Sadly, the first fatality at the new track. Konstantin Potapov, RT.
Met hier de start van de één na laatste race op het circuit van Fuji. Tom Coronel, rechts, is als tweede gestart. Dat is maar even, want nog voor de eerste bocht kruipt hij voor Ito en ligt eerst. Ook de als vijfde gestarte Wakisake gaat Ito voorbij en rijdt nu achter onze landgenoot. En op die man, achter Coronel, moet u heel goed letten. Want hij veroorzaakt een ongeluk dat onze landgenoot bijna het leven kost. Hoe ernstig het is, hoort u aan de reactie van de Japanse televisiecommentator.
At Indianapolis, super-powered cars thunder toward the starting line, and they're off in the world's greatest auto racing classic. Averaging as high as 129 miles an hour, the speedsters whiz around and around in a race that's 500 miles long, with a chance of trouble every foot of the way.
Yeah. Is that right, sweet little girl? Huh? Is that right, sweet little girl? What's it sweat, sweet? Moose, 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 moose. McTavish, Don McTavish.
Can I get a snacks after Taekwondo?
Gymnastics championship.
We're now traveling south on New Hope Road. This is the road that Sheriff Pusher and Pauline took in the early morning hours of August the 12th, 1967. This is where it happened on the 12th of August, 1967. Sheriff Pusher and his wife was driving down through here. Just as they crossed this bridge, a car come around to the side of it. As they started up this hill in this slow curve, shots rang out that killed Pauline. The sheriff, when he realized what happened, he stomps on the gas, pulls on off. He goes on up further. This is the first spot where the attack happened. He goes on up to a cemetery, pulls off to see about her. And that's when they come back the second time and shoot him. Then he pulls off and goes all the way to 45 highway, turns back towards Selma trying to get help, probably to take her to the hospital or to get help.
When you hear the name Jim Nabors, it's hard not to think about goofy Gomer Pyle, who was first in the Andy Griffith Show, and then later was the focus of his own show, Gomer Pyle USMC. In both shows, Gomer wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he was honest, hardworking, and fiercely loyal. In real life, Jim Nabors exhibited the same traits, and this video is about how his loyalty to actor Frank Sutton, well, it cost him dearly. But before I get into all that, let's talk about Gomer Pyle USMC. It was a huge hit for the CBS network. It ran for 5 seasons. Gomer Pyle USMC came to a close, and a few months later, the Jim Nabors Hour premiered on CBS. Sutton, whose strength was comedy, not music, provided support in the comedic sketches in between the musical numbers. To Nabors and Sutton, it seemed like a formula that would really work. However, over time, the executives at CBS, well, they became frustrated that the ratings for the show, while good, weren't Gomer Pyle good. And they started requesting more music and less comedy, or to be even more specific, less Frank Sutton. For whatever reason, there was a feeling among the executives that Sutton was out of place on the show, and that bringing in guest stars to not only sing and dance, but perform
We're now traveling south on New Hope Road. This is the road that Sheriff Pusher and Pauline took in the early morning hours of August the 12th, 1967. This is where it happened on the 12th of August, 1967. Sheriff Pusher and his wife was driving down through here. Just as they crossed this bridge, a car come around to the side of it, and as they started up this hill in a slow curve, shots rang out that killed Pauline. The sheriff, when he realized what had happened, he stomps on the gas, pulls on off. He goes on up further. This is the first spot where the attack happened. He goes on up to a cemetery, pulls off to see about her. And that's when they come back the second time and shoot him. Then he pulls off and goes all the way to 45 highway, turns back towards Selma trying to get help, probably to take her to the hospital or to get help. Going on down. This is what happened when Buford stuffed the gas on his car trying to get away from the assassins. He realized that Pauline was still alive, and he pulls over a couple of miles down the road in order to see about her. Contrary to the movie, the sheriff stated that him or Pauline never got out of the car. After the second attack, the assassins evidently thought that they had killed both, the sheriff and his wife. After a little while, the sheriff headed on south on New Hope Road, hit 45. It's believed he then turned north on 45. He went a little ways, pulled up in a driveway, sat and waited for a little bit, turned around, headed back south on 45. We have an eyewitness stating that he was coming south on 45, and before he got to the state line, he seen a Tennessee highway trooper with his lights on. A car was behind him, and the car would pull out to one side, and so would the trooper. They'd pull to the other side, the trooper would pull out, they'd speed up, they'd slow down. Finally, they stopped, and the highway patrol run back and told the eyewitness to pull in behind Sheriff's car, that he didn't want him, that it was Sheriff Pusher, and he didn't want him to get away. Said he had just been shot, and he was crazy. The eyewitness stated that the sheriff jumped out with his gun, irate, run around to the other side, opened the door, and Pauline fell out the door. And he mumbled that they've killed my wife. In no time at all, he said that there were law enforcement officers coming from every direction. They then took both of them and put them in an ambulance to take them to the hospital. It's believed that the sheriff was actually trying to find who assassinated Pauline, that he was actually looking for the assassins.
Hi, buddy. How are you? We've
What's up, what's happening, what is going on? No matter how much we love to hate referees, it's true that sometimes they actually make a benefit of our experience viewing. Not always in the calls that they make, but sometimes in the way they make those calls. These are examples of what I'm talking about. 10 hilarious referee moments that you have to see. Joe Namath's Super Bowl 48. So Joe Namath has been known in his retirement to have some questionable moments on live television. This happened Super Bowl 48, coin toss, only 8 billion people watching. The referee handled it pretty well, though.
To present Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Namath to toss the coin.
Well, Joe Namath actually flipped it a bit early. Terry McCauley intercepted the flip before it hit the ground.
He hasn't been his team. Who's going to call the toss? Tails. He calls tails. Now, Joe. I had a quick release. Tails. It is tails. You want to toss? Was that poison? Skill? Especially when you caught it right in midair. Oh, yeah. Because I realized as soon as he flipped up, I said, oh, crap, we don't have an option.
Giving him the business. No list on referees and hilarious moments would be complete without the giving him the business. It's iconic. It's everything that football is supposed to be.
And a personal foul on number 99 of the defense. After he tackled the quarterback, he's giving them business down there. That's a 15-yard penalty.
Joe West hit by ball. It depends really who you ask. Joe West has been doing it forever, about 30 years now. Some consider him the best umpire of all time. Some consider him one of the worst umpires of all time. But you can't discredit how cool this moment was.
It could be very well in double digits. Off the umpire, and that's a foul ball. Joe West gets drilled, and he appears none the worse for it. He's a strong man. Nice. Joe can't. How, you sure it's foul? Oh, that got his tongue. Joe West, tough guy. Oh my God, Joe, a little slow reacting.
Ed Hockley, Pro Bowl. Take a look at the clock. Less than 2 minutes remaining in the first half of the Pro Bowl. And not a single penalty has been called. Obviously, the quarterback did not turn his head around. So obviously, Ed Hockley had to make the call. And he made it worthwhile for all of us.
Shoulder shake throws into complete. Jackson. And we've got our first penalty of the game. Chase Bailey with the coverage.
Not a very enthusiastic flag either, almost apologetic. Champ Bailey didn't get his head around on the play. I think it's the reason he got the flag.
Yes, there are penalties in the Pro Bowl. Pass interference. Defense number 24. The ball is placed at the 1 yard line. First down.
All of Wes McCauley. There's no referee, maybe in any sport, that utilizes the limelight of being able to have a microphone on them quite like Wes McCauley. If you're not a hockey fan, this almost is a reason to start watching.
On the ice is confirmed. We have no goal. After reviewing the play, the call on the ice stands. We have goal. 47 for Boston. Those guys fighting to keep them fighting. Mike's not working. Oh, there it is. After reviewing the play, the call on the ice stands. No goal.
Danny Crawford punched. Normally, we can't laugh when somebody gets punched in the face unless they really, really deserve it. Danny Crawford did not really deserve it. And at first, it may look like he didn't actually get punched, but he did. And he handled it incredibly well.
In the lane and had enough to get it to go. Fist pumps and almost punched Dan Crawford, who was making the foul call.
Crawford's got a big smile on his face. He's taking that all right.
Let's move against dirt.
Wristed that in.
Oh, wow. He did get it.
False start, everyone. I think when I was playing center in middle school, I think this actually happened to me. This is the center's fault, even though he's about to say false start, everyone but the center. Totally the center's fault, but just fun to hear in general.
Keep in mind, you have a new center for Carson Palmer this year. The whole offensive line. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
Bad voice crack in the NHL. This is a guy named Chris Rooney, and unlike Wes McCauley, he didn't make the most of his time in the limelight at center ice. Poor guy.
See, we're going to get the call here.
After reviewing the play, the whistle was blown dead. The goalie was shoved into the net with the puck. That is not a good hockey goal.
The confused NFL ref. Okay, to be fair, a lot of things happened in this sequence of plays, and it took a long time for the refs to come together and figure out what the hell to call. Then after they figured out what the hell to call, this guy had to announce it to everyone in the stadium and everybody watching on a national broadcast. It could have went better.
Fouls on the play. Unnecessary, after the play was over, unnecessary roughness on number 52. Excuse me a minute.
Okay.
There are multiple fouls on the play. Unnecessary roughness on the kicking team, number 92. 52. Unnecessary roughness on the receiving team, number 57. Those fouls offset. There's also a holding, number 92, on the return team. All those fouls offset at the spot of that foul. First down, Dallas.
Gene Sterator's measurement. Maybe not funny in the respect that it cost a team a game and ultimately really their season, but you gotta give credit where credit's due. I don't know if this is officially in the rule book as the way to actually officially do a first down measurement, but Gene Steratore literally pulled out all the stops.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. A link short.
Oh my! It has to be dead vertical.
Look at this. Can he put a card in between it?
Look at Gene. He can barely contain himself. He's saying that piece of paper hit. Oh my! I have never seen that before.
Ever.
What other referee moments were really, really funny? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like us, if you like me, hit the subscribe button, especially if you're new. And if you are new, welcome. Hello.
Number 7. On Monday, September 17, 2001, a man is found dead in a motel room in Amanda Park, Washington. He had used his belt to hang himself inside of a closet. 3 days previously, on Friday, September 14th, the man checks in using the name Lyle Stevick and the address 1019 South Progress Avenue, Meridian, Idaho. He arrives at the same time as buses stop outside the motel, but nobody is certain how Lyle traveled there. He is given the key to room 8, but returns an hour later to complain about noise from a nearby trailer park. The motel clerk describes Lyle as giving off bad vibes, being spaced, and making her feel nervous. He is given the key to room 5. The following day, Saturday the 15th, numerous people noticed Lyle pacing up and down the highway, which suggests he may have looked like he was anticipating someone or something to arrive. Lyle spent 3 nights in the room. The only maid at the motel, Maricela, cleaned his room on Saturday, September 15th, and went back on Sunday to clean it again. However, this time, Lyle barely opened the door and turned down maid service. Maricela later told her daughter that she heard voices coming from Lyle's room and was certain it was not the television. On Monday, September 17, Lyle should have checked out of his room by 11:30. When he had not, Maricela knocked on the door. No answer. She opened the door and with her key walked into the room. She saw Lyle kneeling, his back facing her. She thought he was praying, but something did not feel right, so she left the room and called the motel owner. When law enforcement arrived, they discovered a folded comment card with "for the room" written on it. Inside there was $160. They found a crumpled piece of paper on which suicide was written in all caps. A Gideon Bible was bookmarked to John 12:33. This, he said, signifying what death he should die. But what police didn't find is where the mystery lies. Stevick left no ID. Running his DNA, dental information, and fingerprints through law enforcement databases yielded nothing. Lyle Stevick appeared in no phone directory, search engine, electoral roll, or census, except a character named Lyle Stevick from a novel by Joyce Carol Oates entitled You Must Remember This. Also, the address Lyle gives on check-in belongs to the Best Western Rama Inn in Meridian, Idaho. The hotel was located, but none of the staff members recognized the deceased. Eventually, the Stevick case went cold. Almost 17 years later, on May 8, 2018, it was announced by the Grays Harbor Sheriff's Office that Lyle Stevick had been identified through DNA analysis in comparison with genetic relatives performed by the DNA Doe Project. He was from Alameda County, California, and was 25 years old at the time of death. The Grays Harbor County Sheriff's Office notified his family, who had believed him to be alive and assumed he did not want to associate with his family. His family had a set of his fingerprints that were taken in grade school as part of a children's identification program. The Sheriff's Department compared those prints with the post-mortem prints taken in 2001 and made a positive identification. His family has chosen not to identify him publicly. Number 6. When 3-month-old Ryan Stallings became ill on July 9, 1989, his mother, Patricia Stallings, rushed him to the hospital in St. Louis, Missouri, where tests detected high levels of ethylene glycol, the main ingredient in antifreeze, in his blood. On the suspicion that he had been poisoned, Ryan was placed in protective custody. A few weeks later, Patricia was permitted to visit him briefly. Ryan died the next day, September 4, and Patricia was arrested and charged with murder the day after that. Antifreeze was found in the basement of the Stallings home on Lake Wawanoka in Jefferson County, west of St. Louis. At the time of her arrest, Patricia was pregnant. In February 1990, she gave birth to her second son, whom his parents named David Jr. Like his brother, David Jr. was placed in protective custody, where, even though he had no contact with Patricia, high levels of ethylene glycol were detected in his blood. His condition was diagnosed not as poisoning, but as methylamylonic acidemia, or MMA, a rare genetic disorder that in all likelihood had claimed his brother's life. The significance of that seemed obvious, but Patricia's lawyer failed to present evidence regarding MMA at her 1991 jury trial. The jury found Patricia guilty and sentenced her to life in prison without parole. On May 8, 1991, the Stallings case was featured on Unsolved Mysteries, which William S. Sly, professor and chairman of the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, happened to see. Sly conducted additional tests on Ryan's blood, confirming that he died of MMA, not poisoning. On September 20, 1991, police announced at a press conference that the charges were being dismissed. The same day, David Jr. was returned to the custody of his parents. With treatment, his long-term prognosis was thought to be good. Number 5. On the 22nd November 1963, one of America's most controversial presidents was sitting in the back of a 1961 Lincoln Continental 4-door convertible as it made a wide turn onto Elm Street at Dealey Plaza, Dallas. His journey was a part of his official tour of Texas, and many people had lined the roads to see their president pass by. As the car rolled through the open, grassy area of Dealey Plaza, a man standing by the side of the road opened an umbrella, even though it was a bright sunny day and no sign of rain. Seconds later, John F. Kennedy was shot and killed, becoming the 4th United States president to be assassinated. As the motorcade accelerated away and raced for Parkland Memorial Hospital, the umbrella man stood motionless for a few moments, calmly closed his umbrella, and sat down on the pavement. For a few moments, he spoke to another mysterious man before coolly walking away in the direction of the Texas Book Depository, the building from where Lee Harvey Oswald had allegedly fired the shots that killed Kennedy. All of this has been recorded on film. Most believe he was part of the conspiracy and was there to signal the shooters. Others suspected that he might actually be an assassin himself, firing a poisoned dart gun concealed in his parasol. 15 years later, in 1978, a man named Louis Stephen Witt came forward claiming to be the umbrella man. He even claimed that he still had the umbrella in question. Witt claimed that he purchased the umbrella simply to annoy Kennedy. Decades later, Joseph Kennedy, the president's father, had been a supporter of British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain. Neville Chamberlain, in turn, had been an appeaser of the Nazi Party, once traveling to Hitler's private retreat to smooth things over with Führer himself. Those who opposed Chamberlain's work soon began to mock him, using a signature accessory of his as their ammunition, his large black umbrella, ever present by his side. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, the black umbrella had been used in satirical cartoons to poke fun at the Prime Minister, as well as in protest. Witt's only intent that fateful November day was to wave the black umbrella at Kennedy in hopes that he would recognize its symbolism. Number 4. On August 13, 1991, 48-year-old Pearl Bruns disappeared in her home in South Portland, Maine. Her daughter from one of her last marriages reported her missing. A police detective, Linda Barker, went to check into her house and found that Pearl's personal belongings, such as jewelry and clothing, were all still there. including her beloved Cadillac. There was no evidence that Pearl had gone anywhere. In Pearl's bedroom, she found a partially packed suitcase with high-velocity impact blood splatter on it. When she searched even further, she found traces of blood in the bathroom, in the hallway, in the kitchen, and leading her outside to the cellar. There she found traces of blood on the cellar steps. She followed them down into the cellar, where she found dirt that had been disturbed. Police began to excavate the cellar with shovels, but found nothing. It seems that they had hit a dead end. Police questioned Pearl's fourth husband, Bill. He said that he had a fight with Pearl on the night of August 11 when he had left to pick up Chinese food. When he returned, Pearl was gone. On September 28, 1991, a hiker found Pearl's purse along a trail in New Hampshire, 200 miles away. Inside was her driver's license and her pocketbook with cash. Police set out to search her home once more. On the second search, a trained cadaver dog was brought in. It wasn't long before the dog laid on a space he believed a body was buried. Once again, police dug, and once again, nothing was recovered. Not wanting to let this one slip through, police issued another warrant, this time using luminol to aid their search. When the luminol was applied in Brun's home, blood had been splattered everywhere. On the steps leading down to the basement, more blood. Each step indicated that a bloody object had been dragged downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs, some 4 feet across, was a large blood stain. Most alarming was the blood stain was found in a 38 by 25 foot dirt crawl space. On the dirt floor was a blood stain of a human body, the same height as Pearl Brun's. 13 months after Pearl's disappearance, the Brun's residence is searched once more. This time with a forensic tool, ground-penetrating radar. Geophysicist Scott Calkin takes a reading on the Brun cellar and finds an anomaly. He had found consistent reflectors along the basement floor, except for one blank space. The blank space on the reading can mean one of two things: a disturbance in the soil or something buried underneath that's absorbing the radar energy. Either way, in order to learn what the anomaly was, they'd have to dig. Investigators began to excavate. They dug a few shovelfuls, and at one point in time, a plastic bag was struck. It was buried 2 feet below the surface, which turned out to be a head and case in the plastic bag. It was a badly decomposed human body. The individual was wearing a wristwatch with Pearl's name engraved on the face and had pink shoelaces, like the ones Pearl was last seen wearing. The autopsy report shows she had been struck in the head 3 times by a fist and bled to death. Bill ultimately pleaded guilty to manslaughter and was sentenced to 15 years. It was later learned through medical records that Pearl had been recently diagnosed with terminal cancer and had less than 6 months to live. Number 3. On the night of June 22, 1987, 16-year-old Kari Lynn Nixon left her home to run an errand for her dad at around 9:30 p.m. She bought some groceries at a nearby store and left at around 9:55 p.m. She exchanged greetings with a neighbor at around 10:05.
An irreversible movement towards the same end. The Brooklyn Society holds its annual reunion on the famous track near Weybridge in Surrey, now owned by the British Aircraft Corporation. Here are many champions of the past which played their part in making motor racing history. From its archives, Movietone News presents Brooklands in action in the 1930s. The track was opened in 1907 and closed in 1939. The race lap record of 143.12 miles an hour was held by Oliver Henry Julius Bertram in a Renato Hassan Special in 1938. The star of today's meeting is affectionately called Babs, after a mystery lady of that name. The ill-starred Barry Thomas won the land speed record in it at a speed of 171.02 miles an hour in 1926. Thomas was killed the following year, trying to beat the new record set by Sir Malcolm Campbell in his Bluebird of 174.8 miles an hour. Tubbs was buried on the edge of Pendine Sands where the crash occurred. The car was exhumed in 1969 by Mr. Owen Wynne Owen, a lecturer at Bangor Technical College. Not exactly as good as new, but with the chassis still intact. Here it is now, more or less in working order. A legend come back to life. With its massive 450 horsepower engine, it looks capable of trying for the land speed record all over again. But if Babs never actually drives at more than a few gasping miles an hour, an aging relic of past glory, she remains as a treasured memorial to a brave Welshman and man's eternal striving towards impossible goals.
Games you want anytime, anywhere. Nintendo Switch. Games rated RP to T. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the top 10 worst type of players we encounter in Grand Theft Auto Online. So a lot of this list is coming from my own personal experience and what I've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, and also what a lot of you guys have told me your experience has been like with the player base of Grand Theft Auto Online. So with all the way, let's not waste any more time and let's jump into it. All right, at the number 1 spot today, we've got the modder. So this is typically something that you're going to see on PC, at least more maliciously, but we've still seen stuff like this on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, where players are able to manipulate some of the stunt props that you see in races and place them strategically around the map. However, on PC, you'll see modders trapping people in cages. You'll see them lighting them on fire, trapping them in a certain part of the map. Basically, it's just really easy to mod in Grand Theft Auto Online, and Rockstar hasn't done a lot to stop it. Yes, they've done ban waves, and yes, they've tried to update their anti-cheater system, but clearly, as you guys know, that really hasn't worked. And over the last couple of years, we've seen modders try and take over the Grand Theft Auto Online lobbies. Now, some modders are good, I will say that. Aren't all of them aren't bad apples, but a lot of them do some pretty malicious stuff that really has an impact on the population and the player base of online, and players that just simply don't want to be bothered at all. And the bad part about it is sometimes it's really impossible to detect a modder is even in your session unless they start affecting you, which is kind of unfortunate because you really can't avoid them, and the only way to get away from them is to just join another lobby and hope one isn't there as well. The number 2 spot today, the griefer. So the griefer is someone that takes advantage of any and every opportunity to destroy and kill players in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now, typically, you will see a griefer attack another individual or group of individuals when they are doing something related to their businesses or making money in Grand Theft Auto Online. Unfortunately, Rockstar contributes to the griefer mentality. They offer minor incentives like cash and RP bonuses for destroying others' hard work and cargo crates. And of course, the griefers could say it's very satisfying to do that and they're only doing what the game is telling them to do. But it's so frustrating. You spend all your time gathering crates or gathering up supply, and then you get in some defenseless vehicle like a UPS truck or a really slow motorcycle, and you're told to go to the other side of the map where griefers have access to an arsenal of weaponized vehicles and, an assortment of weapons where they can destroy you in one shot. It really is unfortunate and it really is unfair. Again, Rockstar contributes to this sort of behavior because they make you do all.
Wow, man, you're going fast here. Oh, God. He got pulled over.
На инициативе. Так вот в этом случае они обычно в 2 недели укладываются, поэтому мы делали вывод, что они должны успеть, сказала Гаева. При этом она подчеркнула, что в случае необходимости законом предусмотрена процедура...
Ай, молодец! Ай, красавчик! Holy shit.
Traffic is like so fucked up.
Who's beeping?
The car behind me, they want this car to fucking pull out and they can't pull out.
Oh, and it was the fucking cop! And it's on my dash cam! What, bitch? Oh, you fucking retard! Oh, yes! Yes, you stupid motherfucker! Oh, I love it! Oh, you stupid dick! Instant karma, motherfucker!
stop and go right around the area of floor and low with more speed below 40 miles per hour, often on the West Way to Highway 50 with traffic every 10 minutes.
Chef 730. That means rating up KBJ 1530 AM.
93.1 FM.
Our high thanks very much. Our forecast today is cloudy and a bit windy throughout the day. Highs 16 to
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking yeah. I love it. Oh, I'm fucking bored.
Че, ебануться, что ли, совсем? Ты че, ненормальный, да?
Персоналовского якобы выделяется маршрутизатором, там что-то производство 108.1, там что-то не знаю. Опа. 1.62 там.
It made me look like a royal. Good wear his hair and when you and it was perfect for the price like
Oh, what's your brother for life?
It's Richard II, David, not Jesus the First. No, yes.
Наверное, уже накатал.
Не, новый.
Блин. Козел.
The individual could be a high-level target.
I can't go to Yemen. I'm an analyst.
Get on the plane.
You guys want to come in? Huh?
Hey, babe.
My nigga don't look. So many numbers in my phone book.
What the hell, man? Fuck! What the fuck?
No, I won't click the bell. But that was kind of fun to watch.
Despite my channel mostly being about covering MMORPGs, something you probably don't know about me is that I'm actually a huge fan of the Grand Theft Auto series. I've played and finished every game in this franchise since GTA 3, and when it comes to making interesting open worlds, I think Rockstar Games are the very best in the industry. Recently I took a bit of a break from MMOs due to burnout, and instead I've been playing a few single-player games and stuff I wouldn't normally cover on this channel. The game I've been playing the most, however, is GTA Online, which is basically the online mode of GTA 5, which is, in my opinion, the best GTA game that Rockstar has made so far. When it comes to the online mode, however, it's a completely different story. GTA Online initially released in 2013 on consoles with a bit of a rocky launch. At the time, though, I was more interested in playing the single-player mode, so I didn't really get into it too much. Since releasing on PC in 2015, I've played GTA Online quite casually, but recently I've made more of an effort to really dive into it and see all of the content it has to offer, the main thing being all of the multiplayer heists. At this point you're probably thinking, dude, the title of your video is pretty fucking harsh. If the single player mode is so good, then how can the multiplayer be so bad? Let's start with the first issue, the community. As a new player going into GTA Online, the first thing you'll notice is how incredibly toxic the vast majority of people you meet in this game are. You could be minding your own business, doing some missions, trying to make some money, and you'll see another player coming towards you on the minimap. Instead of seeing if you're going to be hostile or just go about your business, 70% of the time people will just shoot you on sight, even if you're a brand new player with no hope of defending yourself. After they've killed you, it's likely that they're just going to spawn camp you until you stop respawning. Something I notice in the majority of sessions I've joined is that there's always at least one or two people constantly flying around in OP vehicles such as the Hydra, the Oppressor, or the Tank, just killing everyone on sight, then trash talking in the chat about how high their kill to death ratio is and that everyone else sucks at the game. Why the fuck is kill to death ratio even a thing in a GTA game when 99% of the time
Распиши. Давай, ломается. Давай.
Опять, блядь, вы, зачем прижали?
Glurp, 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 glurp. Again. Fuck. Hello?
Baixa, meu. Pera que eu...
Okie doke. Okay. I was also thinking of putting them inside, but I'll bring them over. Okay. I'll do that right now. I get the hand truck, load them up, bring them over. No. I won this morning. I know it's kind of crazy, but you know that. You need me to do something? I mean, besides bring the boxes over? Okay. Okay. I'll be bringing them over here pretty soon. You're welcome.